Okay, welcome back, students. We were just looking at Pythagorean theorem that was allowing us to find that distance in a right triangle, which was the hypotenuse. Now, sometimes we're looking at distances and the triangle isn't necessarily drawn for us, but what we do have is we have ordered pairs on a coordinate plane. So we were looking at this a lot when we were doing graphing. And so there actually is a formula for that called the distance formula. So we've got some notation here. We just want to make sure we review from graphing. We've got an ordered pair. Remember those subscripts x1, y1, that just means first ordered pair. And we have a second ordered pair, x2, y2. Again, that just means second ordered pair. So what we would be doing is looking at these points on our graph, and we would be trying to figure out the distance they are apart. Now, if we think about this visually, if we were to draw a line straight down and a line straight across, we would form a right angle. And we can see that the side or the line that we're actually looking for the distance of, that would be our hypotenuse of our triangle. So if we knew the two legs, we could just use Pythagorean theorem. But since we don't, since all we know is the ordered pairs, what we have is this formula, and this formula was actually derived, that means we were able to get the formula, by rearranging Pythagorean theorem using the coordinates. So we're going to give the formula to you, and we're just going to practice using it today. So we're going to take a look at 2 points on a graph and figuring out how far apart they are using the distance formula. So here we have 2 points on our graph, 1, 2, and -3, 0. And the first thing we always want to do is label them. So we'll just make this ordered pair 1, x1, y1, x2, y2. We'll make this ordered pair 2, so x2, y2. Doesn't matter which one I chose as ordered pair 1, which one I chose as ordered pair 2. So our distance formula, distance equals the square root of x2 minus x1, squared, plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just solve by plugging in values. So distance equals the square root, and my x2 is 0, minus my x1 is 1 squared, plus my x2 is negative, or sorry, my y2, oh, I messed that up, didn't I? Okay, let's go back and fix that. We can see I made a little mistake. I put my y instead of my x. Does that happen sometimes? No big deal. Okay, so let me go back. x2, I was looking, is -3, minus x1 is 1, and my y2 is 0, minus my y1, which is 2 squared. Okay, so now we're just going to solve. So we have -3 minus 1 is -4 squared, plus 0 minus 2 is -2 squared, and -4 squared would be 16, plus 4 squared would, or 2 squared would be 4. Now we notice we have the square root of 20. And 20 is not a perfect square. So that just tells us that our answer is not a whole number. Now at this point, we can just use our calculator to get an estimate on that. We don't actually have to go ahead and get an exact answer because it's an irrational number. So at this point, you'd be allowed to just use that square root button on your calculators. When you get to algebra, you're going to actually learn how to rationalize that, which is a lot of fun. But for now, it's okay to just use that square root button, and we're going to see that we're going to end up with about 4.2 or 4.3. I don't have a calculator with me right now. Okay, so that would be distance formula. Now, the other thing that we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about a little bit more about the Pythagorean theorem. We're going to talk about something called the converse, and that's just proving whether or not three sides make a right triangle. So we're going to look at three values, and we're asking, is this a right triangle? It's a triangle, right? But we don't know if it's a right triangle. So that's what we're asking. So one of the sides is 12, one of the sides is 35, one of the sides is 37. And sometimes people are confused and they go, oh, I have no idea which one should be the legs and which one should be the hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse is always the longest side. So whichever value is the largest, that is going to be the value that you're plugging in for C. Doesn't matter which one's A and which one's B. So our Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. All we're going to do is plug these numbers in, and we're going to see if they make the equation true. So we have 12 squared plus 35 squared, and we want to know, we're not sure, does that equal 37 squared? So we all know 12 squared is 144. 35 squared is 1,225. And 37 squared, sorry, it's a messy equal sign. 37 squared is 1,369. So now what I would want to do is I want to add 144 plus 1,225, and I get 1,369. And because both sides came out to be the same, we would say yes, this is definitely a right triangle. In fact, the right angle would be right there. So in order to test if three sides make a right triangle, we just plug it into Pythagorean theorem and see if it works. If it does work, we say yes. If it doesn't work, we would say no. So go ahead and practice solving some distance formula problems and testing to see if some triangles are right triangles.